Hey, it's Cherie from Big Notes Get Votes, and today's video is very different to what I usually come at you with every week. Now, yesterday, which was Saturday here in New Zealand, an interview that I was interviewed for called The Secret Lives of Session Musicians went live at 2:30 in the afternoon. So usually I come at you on a Saturday morning with some kind of answer to your question or a tip or a tool or a resource that can help you with your singing. But this one is actually a little bit of a repurpose of content that went live a little bit later in the afternoon. And the cool thing about it was that this particular interview interviewed a couple of different session musicians here in New Zealand, one of whom is a very good friend of mine and my fellow backing vocalist in l.a.b, Lisa Tomlins. We were in Christchurch yesterday for Electric Avenue and just so happened to catch the airing live. And so we thought, let's do a little reaction video. So that's what I'm going to roll out for you now. The audio quality is not great. We're in the hotel room, so forgive us. But I will link you to the actual interview so that you can hear what is going on in beautiful audio quality over on Radio New Zealand Music 101's program. Plus, you get a great insight into what we call the Auntie Special, which is where we talk a lot about our experiences and expand a little bit on what was said in the interview. Now, if you have any questions about anything that you heard in the interview, or if you want to become a singer yourself, I am a vocal coach and a professional singer, pop any questions down below and I'd love to answer them. I'd love to get Lisa back on as well and do a proper interview. But for now, let's roll what we recorded yesterday and I hope you enjoy it. Oh, I thought they were talking about Lisa, because that's why we got interviewed, is because Lisa is the busiest session singer in the entire country.
I find that very hard to believe.
It's true.
Now, I wonder if you know too much about session musicians.
Oh, here we go.
Here, Yardnasaur speaks with some of the musical talent behind our favourite albums, beloved TV commercials, and the voices we might hear even when we're working out at the gym. Here she is, Yardnasaur, beginning by taking us back to this 1978 classic.
None of us. That's Baker Street.
Yeah. So, yeah, what we thought we'd do is, because we got interviewed separately, we're currently in Christchurch for Electric Avenue together, which we often are for this l.a.b gig. We've known each other for like 7 million years. And so
We look good for 7 million
amazing.
And 20 years old.
And it's just like, Yadana was like, guess what? It's tomorrow.
Is this sex? This is Baker Street by Cherie. I don't think I'm alone in arguing that it's an essential element of the song. And it kept Rafferty fairly comfortable till his death in 2011. It's
I'm gonna
reported
learn.
that Baker Street earned $150,000
On saxophone?
in
No,
annual
I'm going to learn things.
Oh,
On the other hand, Raphael Ravenscroft, the session saxophonist, earned a tidy 27 quid for this performance.
Oof.
And allegedly, the check bounced.
Oof.
this is a
I'm
story.
going to learn stuff.
This
Yeah,
is a
see, this is what
story.
is exciting.
Spill the tea, sis. I need to know about this person. Like,
Please tell me a Kiwi played on this.
And by the way, this is Ravenscroft as well.
Oh.
wonderful. Iconic work.
And like,
Careless Whisper by George Michael.
honestly, like, the moments that,
Behind just about any song
matter.
or album you've heard,
right?
there are a special bunch of voices and players that bring the magic. You won't spot them in the band photos or in the music videos, but the mark is absolutely there on the finished product you hear.
Ooh.
They are the session musicians, the guns for hire, the magic source, utility players, the secret weapons, who have only recently been getting their dues in
I said
history.
vocal
The
ninja.
most famous
I wonder
Vocal
if that's
ninja.
gonna...
was Tavla
Nice.
Motown's personnel, or the LA Wrecking Crew, who boasted Glenn Campbell, Dr. John, Leon Russell, and Carol Kay in their lineup. This is her on bass, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It's like working together on stage. It's like in sync.
Goes on by Sonny and Cherie. In the secret life of session musicians, we'll meet some of the local players who you have heard or seen with Tammy Nielsen, Fat Freddy's Drop, Dave Dobbin, Neil Finn,
That's all
l.a.b,
you.
Cherie, Anna Coddington, Brunettes, Anika Moore, SJD, Dimmer, and many, many more. We'll find out what it takes
She
to
just
be a
said
good
all you.
session musician, how that stacks up
It's
against
like, okay.
That's just a third.
to make a living from sessioning, and whether these Swiss Army knives with Aotearoa music even consider themselves session musicians.
Oh, here we go.
I'm an ex-studio musician because I got sick of it and I had other musical things to do.
This is Jim Hall. He's an award-winning composer and multi-instrumentalist who kicked in the session work to make some very memorable advertising.
Oh, yeah.
Nice work. Oh.
And
Perfect.
he's even written his own musical theatre, like a musical.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I did a session.
Session. She says I'm the busiest one. This one. Whatever.
It was ages
Jim's
ago.
also the musical brain behind the Double Cheese rework and classical compositions you've heard on banking ads, power companies, and many other television commercials.
Yeah, I knew he was
He's composed
gangster.
music for film and television.
Oh,
Westerner's early work.
maybe Hayley
We're going back to the late 60s.
didn't want her first name
Jim's
used.
career in session work began when he was studying music at Canterbury University.
And here we are in beautiful
Yes.
Christchurch.
The only recording he did was at what is now Radio New Zealand. That was then 3YA. And they did a lot of recording, and it was government paid for. Lots of jazz recordings because pop music was still not taken very seriously by radio in those days. So, we were playing what now would seem like passe lounge music. I'd be maybe half the age of everyone in the room sometimes. And it was just the beginning of the time where these guys would accept someone playing a bass guitar rather than an upright bass on these recordings. But they were the level of musicianship was good. And all of these things were onto tape. People just don't realise the difference between
Wow,
tape
yeah, that's
and
true,
now.
right?
Yeah.
That's a trip. That's one of the reasons I like listening to the
Can't make a screw up.
older
You had to
cats.
be on the ball.
Such good stories where
Great
they were working
stories.
so much harder as well,
Yeah.
like in session,
Yeah.
'Cause you couldn't muck it up.
No, it's all in one take.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the same room. Like, someone's closer to the microphone, someone's
Yeah.
away. And like, if somebody stuffs up, everybody's
Yeah, exactly.
it's another Jake.
I mean, but there's an element I think we started when things were definitely digital, but less, like, there was certainly in my first sessions an expectation for me to do the whole song, to be able to do the whole song, and then maybe even just like a whole whatever, not
Yeah.
just the syllable comping business.
Yeah, because the phrasing's affected.
Yeah, and a vibe I think was
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
gone
for
for more
sure.
than like technical accuracy, maybe.
Yeah.
Which would have been
Sorry, Jim.
Or the Brian Marsden Big Band or something like that.
I'm
So-
Yara Saw. This is the secret life of session musicians. You're my world, your every breath. I did.
Who hasn't sung this on karaoke?
Right.
What?
I'm pretty sure Jim played on
I
this.
don't know how. I scored a tour with Cilla Black, who was pretty hot to trot still then. It had #1 hits. It was a bit like touring with Adele.
Ooh, yeah.
Time on that particular
sure.
tour, she bought a really good piano player, musical director, and she bought a drummer who'd just been fired from the Jeff Beck group. So he was flash, and everyone else was picked up here. And so how did we learn the repertoire? Everything was written out. We had charts for everything.
Yeah.
Basically, I flew up to Auckland. I'd never been to Auckland, even. I'd hardly ever been on an aeroplane. And got off the plane, went to a rehearsals, and we did about 2 or 3 run-throughs of the show, and that was it. You know.
I still quite like getting charts.
Yeah.
Even though I don't read very proficiently, we were actually sharing some tools, like digital apps that you can use to upload the PDF of the chart and have the melody played back to you, like MIDI playback of the audio, just because it's so much quicker than me trying to plonk it out on the piano to learn a melody, you know?
Yeah.
Pretty soon, my reputation got around, and I was starting to play on people's recording sessions and playing on the TV and television at the time. There was Happenin', which had been the follow-up to a show called Come On, that had New Zealand's pop stars on it. And those TV shows would have been 25 songs a show. You had
that's
a 2-hour
gangster.
rehearsal with an
Like
orchestra.
Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah, but
had to play it without
I
any
did
obvious
do
mistake.
the singing on Dancing with the Stars.
I know, I heard it.
But it was all pre-recorded. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't live. Was
The
it
first
ever
2
live?
seasons, the first 2-3 seasons it was live. I was on the first season.
Were you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because they were doing it in Wellington, right?
Yeah. When it moved up to Auckland, that's when it, and they took that hiatus.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that you did it. See? I told you I was going to learn some stuff about you. I didn't know that you did that, and I didn't know that you did it live.
Yeah, we would rehearse during the week, just the vocalists with the because every song's a minute and a half long, and we'd rehearse during the week, and then Saturday, Sunday we'd rehearse with the band and the orchestra, and the dancers, and then like Sunday night they'd record it live.
Far out, that's hardcore, man.
One minute you're doing that, the next minute you're playing in a shitty band to a whole lot of old farts.
Yeah.
Dancing
Every other weekend.
Every other weekend.
that week, you know. It's pretty hand to mouth. It'd be great to say that you're always in and out of the studio, but it comes in bursts.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I got to the UK in the 70s that I started to suss out that in the end there's only a handful of people who play on everything to a large extent, especially in those days before digital recording, in the days of tape. In the 60s, every second hit that was on that came out of England had Jimmy Page playing guitar on it.
Wow.
He wasn't playing
I didn't know
Zeppelin-esque
that.
That's
guitar.
incredible.
He was playing neat and tidy session guitar in the background of
But that's
Amazing.
like how you get your chops, right? Covers gigs, and then that discipline fosters a particular practice or approach, which can be translated to the studio, so that you're like getting
really reliable.
shit done fast.
Totally.
Because he wasn't making very much money, and once he formed Led Zeppelin, he became a squillionaire.
And now, decades later, everybody's first song that they want to learn is Stairway to Heaven.
Hey, full circle.
America, session-wise, was the 70s. In the end, a high school band from one school in l.a. who eventually became Toto, those guys were playing on everything that was being made. And those guys were just really, really flash.
And most
They're
of
tight.
them were all over Michael Jackson's album Thriller.
Ooh.
And Steve Porcaro wrote the ballad Human Nature on that album.
You're only going to play Rosanna by Toto, whether you like the actual music or not. That is basically a live recording of the band with some overdubs. And
Wow.
they were hot, and they were only about 20, 20 or 22. They were virtuosos.
Far out, that's good.
That's it. Like, you've got to open yourself up to many different styles, genre-wise, to get a good grasp of what it is that you want to do, and get that good discipline happening.
Yeah.
Like,
And that's what covers gigs foster, right? Or
Yeah,
church,
that's what I
which
reckon.
neither of us went to.
Yeah.
Musicians behind all the great music.
Here's one.
I'll speak to myself.
Locally, if we take a look at some of the records from the past 2 decades, there's a high chance that the folk we're about to hear from have had something to do with it.
Kia ora, I am Ned Ngatae.
Yes!
And Rara. I am a musician from Auckland, New Zealand. So I am guitar player for Black Seeds, also playing a little bit of guitar with Fat Freddy's Drop currently.
Ned started in Tingalo Ness's band Unity Pacific. From there, he worked on albums by Cherie, The Fieldstyle, Suwane, Solar Rosa, Dimmer, and Trinity Roots.
It's funny, it is kind of like, when you see a band that you used to play with or something, it is almost like seeing an ex-partner. I'm lucky that I'm on amicable terms with all my ex-partners. I don't really think of myself as a session musician as such as I've been more of a hired gun from time to time for bands, in that I'm not a core member of, I haven't been a core member of the band, so I would get paid a flat fee per show, whereas people that are core members would get a profit share sort of thing. I did that for 3 years with Black Seeds, and it's cool. I enjoy both aspects. I enjoy just turning up, doing the gig, and not having to worry about anything.
Yeah, exactly. I actually had to look up the meaning of a session singer because I wasn't sure if, like Ned's just said, like sessions is, I guess, studio.
Yeah.
When you're putting
Not usually,
not
not the core,
live,
not, yeah.
or,
okay, if we do well out of this, we all do well.
What do you think?
If it sucks, then
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll hear what you thought about
Well,
it.
who knows if you can make head nor tails of what I'm about to say.
but it's
No idea
Luckily,
what
they
happened.
didn't get us on at the same show. The auntie special.
It'd be this the whole time. Oh, yeah.
I was curious to know if Ned knew the reason behind why he was the go-to for other musicians.
I think, I've been very lucky to have been in the right place at the right time to work with some of these really talented artists, such as Cherie or Shane Ngatae and Coddington and, Warren Maxwell and Trinity Roots guys. I don't know what you would call that, a collaborator. I think that's my forte is collaborating with people and kind of pulling good stuff out of each other, seeing what the dynamic is.
I like being told what to do.
Same.
Like, I like to be like, those are the notes, and if I
Yeah.
can add some vocal expertise to relaying those notes in a particular way of phrasing, I think
Yeah.
I get what Ned's saying for sure. But yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, they hire you
Yeah.
for a reason.
Yeah.
They want you and whatever it is that you
Working well
bring.
with others seems to be an important and essential skill if you're a session musician. Let's hear from another whose work we might have heard.
Kanu te mihi ki a koutou katoa, ko Chip Matthews tēnei. For me, the first parts of my career were really about relationships, and I'm not the best bass player in the world. I never have been the best bass player in the world, and I'll never claim to be. I've been playing bass. Well, actually, I had a band practice with the new Lounge Head.
Oh,
and,
yes.
The drummer from that band, Isaac, got me later in the week to go and do some session work for Cherie, so that was July of '96.
Like Ned, Chip worked on Cherie's albums and has also worked with Fat Freddy's Drop. He's also played for Kinka PC, Lady Six,
Yeah, he's okay.
Miriam Clancy, Homebrew, Team Dynamite, Keith, Tammy Nielsen,
That's satire, in case you didn't pick
Yeah.
that up.
and Radner.
He's the man.
I'm just jealous of him because he's so good and because my boyfriend loves him. My boyfriend? My husband loves him more than he
I
loves
think that's
me.
cute. I think that's cute.
Session musician is
That he goes, oh, that's cute. I love that.
to say it, but I think it's being
'Cause
humble and being
Godfrey loves
having-
Chip more than he loves me.
being-
I've been sent messages that were meant for Chip because the first two letters of our name are so close and they were definitely nicer.
Hi, honey.
Yeah, they were nicer than the ones that I get. Just
So I
saying.
had a session kind of
Anyway, sorry,
and
Chip.
Said, like, that's great, but can you play with more soul? And I got my back up at that point. So being a successful session musician is getting on board the waka and being part of the journey and understanding that the kaupapa needs to be fulfilled, and
Yes.
your job is to fulfill your part of the kaupapa.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right.
Listening to the secret life of session musicians on RNZ National. And this is Lisa Tomlins expanding on Chip Matthews' point about getting on the kaupapa.
You've got to find that place where it becomes yours, really.
Ooh,
Like,
deep.
really to be able to embody and enjoy the things that you do as well. I think that comes across a lot in a performance if you're doing a performance of somebody else's work.
We enjoy it.
More from Lisa, let's learn about what she's lent her voice to.
You might have heard me with Fly My Pretties, Lord Echo, doing backing vocals for l.a.b, Shapeshifted, Live 2007, Fat Freddy's Drop Hope, any of those. Anybody even played flute on a couple of things? I'm not a flute player. Barely a singer.
All that experience,
Stop.
does Lisa consider herself a session musician?
It took a long time for me to actually name it. I thought I was just having lots of fun with lots of different people. I definitely consider myself a session musician. I go at most of my sessions. I don't find any of them hard. I would never call it difficult. I would call some things challenging maybe. I go at most of my sessions with an open mind, an open heart, and ready to receive whatever it is that needs to go through me to get the job done. Amen! Who the hell was that?
I don't know. Oh, there's a dude outside trying to throw up. Awesome. Oh no, it's his car. I lied. Sorry.
Session with those guys. I was asked to recreate in my own way the opening theme to Star Trek, the original series. Slightly operatic, popperatic maybe, high, like you're in the stars. I guess so. Yeah, that was one bit of direction that I got.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, got it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's with NZSO.
Wow, that's cool.
Oh, no, maybe it's APO.
Mike Hall is a bassist who started in a punk band called Balance. He was also in Pluto, the Brunettes, and he's played for Dimmer, Tammy Nielsen, Tim Finn, and most recently played on the Dire Straits tribute tour.
Yeah,
He's
that's
been on the
amazing.
receiving end of some pretty interesting instructions.
Mike, can you try this? Can you try and stand up and get into it more? I did a session with Andy Morton one time, somewhere, and he asked this for the Dimmer record, and it was the Getting What You Give tune, and it has like a pretty groovy bass line that I was playing along to a pre-recorded drum track, and he sat me down and we kind of did it, and I was feeling it, but then he said to me, this needs to feel groovier or like more in the pocket. We need to feel like you need to imagine that you're in a group of people dancing. And so he stood up and he basically sort of danced in front of me for about 3 or 4 seconds while I was doing it. And we got it.
That would have been something.
That's so cool.
And it was another time I did a session with him. We had breakfast at his house and he had the song playing so quietly in the background that I didn't notice it. So when we came to do the tune, I'd already been listening to it on repeat.
Some like
Some
brain.
Wow.
Yeah,
Osmosis
but the
flips.
dancing alone in that tune, that was a cool technique and it was a bit of a different approach.
Cherie Mathieson
Oh,
is a vocalist
Jesus.
and vocal coach. You'll have heard her on Mark to Clive Lowe's 6 Degrees album, a 3 the Hard Way track, and the Counting Down voice at Les Mills Gym.
That's my claim to fame. Oh, that's not me.
Here's Cherie sharing one of the more specific requests she's had to
Oh.
fulfill when recording an ad jingle.
I did this ad for Bottle-O.
I hope I'm not going to get in
and they
trouble for
wanted me
saying
to
this.
sound like Jen Wigmore. So it's kind of like being an actor and the music being
That's
the
true.
script, and then the director, I guess, is the producer, just sort of trying to shape it into what their vision is or what the client's vision is when it's a commercial. It is a funny thing sometimes,
The sigh.
what people want, because my natural reaction would be like, why don't you give Jen a call? You know, but I don't know if she would necessarily want to do that kind of thing.
Oh.
Oh,
No one knows any of this stuff though.
Any sound has a recipe, if you will. There's a recipe, a sonic recipe, and there are ingredients. If you can deconstruct the meal, so to speak, know what the ingredients are, then you can recreate the meal. And that's how I look at the voice or its sound. So if I know what
Work, mama.
she's doing to make the sound, then I can recreate that.
Cherie explains what environment she has to be prepared for when going into a session.
Because you don't know what you're getting yourself into. It's like a vocal ninja. You get in and you get out. You're not
Hopefully no one sees you.
Mike Hall.
I think a session musician is somebody that just kind of can plonk themselves into somebody else's live outfit or session and make the song or the show better. I mean, there are session musicians that won't do that. To me, that's the ultimate.
Yeah,
Session
good
musician will
point.
step in and go, how can I make this better? How can I leave my mark? I've been asked to do it because I'm me, so how can I leave my mark on this?
That was good.
So what do all our local musicians think are the most essential skills for a session musician? Cherie Mathieson.
Oh,
It's often some of the fundamentals, like understanding your own instrument, listening, and being able to give quick, succinct variations on what has been asked of you.
Jim Hall.
Being a virtuoso, as near as virtuosic as you can be, with really good personal hygiene, because people got to sit in a room with you for a long time. Really good discipline.
He's not wrong.
And punctuality, really good gear.
Yeah.
These are kind of given that you're going to be like this.
Ned Ngatae.
You just got to know the parts, not be a goober, and turn up on time. Don't get wasted. Turn up on time.
twice.
Punctuality is like a big part of it. I know it sounds crazy, but like you might be the best player in town, but if you're late every time, you're not going to get a gig.
When I interviewed these musicians, time and punctuality seemed to come up a lot. Here's Chip Matthews drilling down on why it's so important to him.
When you're playing on someone else's album, you're fulfilling their emotive kind of pathway, their journey. I have a theory when I work for musicians that I should always be waiting for them. They should never be waiting for me. That I should be one of the first ones at the van. And that's about also leading examples for other musicians you play with.
Yeah,
And
nice
sometimes might not
chap.
be so time critical, and because it's emotions, right? You're dealing with their emotions, you're dealing with their history, and you've got to
Ooh.
pay respect to that.
Here's Lisa Tomlins explaining how respect isn't just about being on time.
Case in point, like I knew from the outset working with someone like Neil Finn, for instance, it's historically.
My mate Neil Finn.
Oh, just
He's
changed up
drop-
projects. and,
casual
changed
drop
up
names.
personnel quite a lot, like over the years. So I went into that going, this is for this gig, this is for this tour, and I never felt like this is it. This is me for the rest of my life, you know. Like it felt great for the time, and I never went in going, this is going to be my gig from now on, right? And in that is a kind of freedom.
As a vocalist that we've heard on so many different albums, performing with so many different bands, does Lisa ever have hopes of going solo and doing her own thing?
This is what we've been talking about all day.
With a majority, if not all, musicians have an inkling in there that they're going to do some of their own solo work. I still think that maybe I will, but I mean, I'm happy to be working with the bands that I've been working with and writing with them. The solo thing seems a little bit daunting and quite lonely.
Cherie Mathieson agrees.
I can tell you with certainty the one thing that I have been intentional about is deciding to not be an original artist, purely because it's the hardest thing in the world to do. It's such a hard job to be a music artist. You know, like there's so many moving parts, and that's before you even release anything. You know, that's not even to do with the marketing and business stuff. It's like really understanding yourself as a musician or as an artist and feeling emboldened enough and trusting in yourself to be able to tell your stories and wear your heart on your sleeve. Like, I am not cut out for that.
It's the truth.
And finally, Michael. He's been in a lot of his own bands, and here he is weighing up the pros and cons.
When you're playing in your own band, there's the additional pressure of what's next. How well is the record doing? How many tickets have sold? What are we getting across? And then when you play in a session situation, there is a luxury element to it where you kind of finish the gig and you walk up and you can kind of more easily find the good.
Exactly, Mike. Yeah.
Post-mortem.
Yeah.
Because when you're in your own thing, you still want it to be as good as it can be when it's somebody else's project, but you don't have to analyse the bigger picture.
Even though we still do, like we get off stage and watch replays and think about things that we could have done better as a unit, individually, you know, we review stuff constantly.
Of that music, and it happens in the studio a bit as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a luxury. It's one of the best things about doing session work because you get to play with all of these different
Amazing people.
Yeah.
Blessed in New Zealand. We
Yeah,
have
man.
this wide range of diverse, talented writers and performers who pull it out of the bag, man. I mean, like, you know, it's crazy, you know, and every so often when you're doing a session, even if it's a covers thing or like a thing in the studio, you just get blown away by, I don't know, some like, it's just that we just got some great people around.
Yes, we do. Sage advice, Lisa Tomlins.
Yeah.